The Bruins played a hockey game tonight, and Captain Brad Marchand was back in the lineup for a bit. So, as always, I will cover the highs and lows of Game 5 of the preseason. I will also cover the aftermath of the soap opera that is Jeremy Swayman's contract negotiations, but we're going to hear from the players because I think what the room thinks about all this truly matters. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. After the morning skate today, Brad Marchand, being the face of the Boston Bruins, met with the media and didn't hold back when it came to talking about the Swayman contract negotiations. Let's have a listen.
Obviously, there's a lot of news coming out of the organization yesterday. Is it difficult when it becomes such a big story to keep it out of the room?
I think the biggest thing, I wouldn't say it's hard to keep it out of the room. Even today and after, there's not a whole lot of talk about it. We all understand the situation that the team and Sway are in, and this is part of the game. It's part of the business. It's a part that nobody enjoys. And eventually a deal's going to get done, and everyone's going to move on and be fine. One of the biggest things is stress and pressure of when these negotiations are going on. But when you're dealing with a term deal, once it's signed, there's so much weight that gets lifted off, not just the player's shoulder, but the team. And, then it's just all about coming together and finding a way to win and building towards that goal. So, it's tough because, we all care about Sway. We want to see him back. And, but again, it's part of the business that sometimes guys go through, and every player goes through it at some point. To the extent of which it drags on is always different, but everybody goes through negotiations, and they're never fun. It'll be over, and everyone will move on.
Have you been talking to him? Is he working out obviously on his own and getting ready whenever he does come back?
Yeah, I talked to Sway. I mean, he's a very competitive kid. He's very dedicated. He's going to do what he has to do to be prepared and come back in the best shape he possibly can. He has that chip on his shoulder that he's going to compete and get prepared. At the same time, it's hard to replicate NHL reps, and especially this time of year. So, we're looking forward to the day he gets back.
Marchand, I think, speaks for the whole team when he says they want Swayman back in the room. I saw his hesitation initially when they asked if he spoke with him, which makes me think Brad had spoken to him that day, and his answers were calculated. A lot of fans think what Cam did publicly was a good thing and that he was right by doing so. But you can see the players still have Swayman's back here, and I wouldn't doubt that Cam addressed the team today about the whole thing. The last thing Cam needs is to lose the room. Players don't want their laundry aired out for all to see, and especially from their closest allies like Cam. Cam was passionate yesterday and acted more like a player than management, but that is all behind everyone now, and they move on and focus what is important, which is winning hockey games. Fluto Shinzawa appeared on the What Chaos podcast today to discuss it, and even spoke to the players and shared what their opinions about the whole thing were.
You have a good piece on The Athletic just kind of recapping everything that happened yesterday and how the players feel about it and how various people feel right now. But what was interesting about it is it didn't sound like it was written by somebody who thinks a trade is where we are right now. Do you think that it gets to that point?
No. First off, okay, let's look at let's just say he for the sake of this argument, he wants 8 times 10. Okay. Let's just say that. Well, who's going to give it to him at this point? That is really pushing the bar up on the goalie market, for the restricted goalie market. I don't know that there is a team out there that would be willing to go that high for Jeremy. Right now, it would be a losing team. It would be a San Jose. It would be a Columbus. Those are the teams that could, if they wanted to, and have the cap space to sign him, which I don't think they want to, just because that number is so far beyond what the goalie market is currently, that I think he'd be right back in the same position. And we know, let's say he even gets traded, that number ain't coming down. He's got that number in mind. That's what he wants, because he wants to be a Bruin. I believe that. But the number is the number in his mind. So you've got that, and then the team that has to have the cap space and the willingness to pay him that money. They have to pay the Bruins in terms of trade capital. Bruins, they're not going to give him away. They need a goalie in return. Like you saw what the return was for Allmark, it's going to be significantly higher for that, even if they are in a difficult position in terms of not being able to get a deal done. So the acquiring team has to pay twice. So if Jeremy thinks that a trade is the solution, he's going to have to wait a long time, because I don't see that anywhere close to being in the Bruins' works.
The players want Swayman back. Swayman wants to be back, and it looks like a trade just isn't an option, as much as people keep saying it is. Fluto did mention, though, that if the players feel this holdout cost them games or places in the standing, that Swayman would have to answer for that and would hear it from the room. They love the guy and their teammates, but they all have one goal, and that's to win the Stanley Cup. And if you choose not to help them compete that goal, then you're not going to be liked, and I 100% get that and agree. I just wanted to share a different perspective in this whole thing, because everybody keeps talking about the fans, management, and Swayman, but what about the guys in the room? So let's get into the game. We got to see the likes of Elias Lindholm out there with David Pastrnak and Pavel Zacha. I did like to see that depending on where the faceoff was, Zacha and Lindholm rotated to get their strong side for the draw. That should be a nice advantage for the Bruins throughout the season. The day before, Pastrnak mentioned he was happy to have a center again that shoots right, because he was so used to Bergeron from back in the day. The line had some nice rushes, but I felt their timing was off, which can be expected. Not a lot of tape-to-tape passes, and zone entries came off broken plays, but they did cycle the puck well a couple of times, and I did notice, especially on the power play though, Lindholm looked a little lost. Lindholm's first game, so I'm not expecting perfection or anything close. Marchand left the game due to illness, and that was not on my bingo card, but happy it wasn't due to injury, and having 3 surgeries this offseason made me a little worried when he left. He didn't look good at all out there, and now we know why. He did mention before the game he needs to get his rhythm back, and I'm sure if he can, we'll see him in the next preseason game. Mark Kastelic was buzzing out there and tried to hit everything that moved, and has done this every game he's played in. Charlie McAvoy led the Bruins in penalty minutes last year because he was the guy making the big hits and did get involved in a lot of after the whistle stuff. This year, the Bruins have Kastelic and a lot more options, which is going to allow McAvoy to stay out of the box and be more effective on the ice. Even tonight, we saw McAvoy rushing the puck a lot more and taking way more offensive chances. Because of the Marchand illness, the lines got thrown in a blender. I do hope that the fourth line is Kastelic, Beecher, and hopefully Brazeau. For me, the third line would be Frederic, Patra, and most likely Johnson, if he makes the team. All 3 players have played well enough to lock spots and at least on opening night roster, and could be deadly pest/shutdown lines. Tyler Johnson, I'm still up in the air if he makes this hockey cup, but looked pretty good on the power play and had a very nice goal that gave the Bruins life in the third period. Like, honestly, you looked at the shots and it was tilted one way, but the game was kind of boring at parts. Brandon Busty continues to have rebound control issues that could pose a very big problem if he can't get that under control. He wasn't tested often, and sometimes I felt he was caught out of position, so he ended up flopping in his crease, but still making the save. I need him to square up to the post consistently better and cut down the shooters. If it wasn't for this whole Swayman situation, he 100% would be starting the year in Providence. He didn't play bad, and he did play better than the previous game and made a couple nice saves in the third period, but there's a lot to work on with this kid. With the Bruins dressing what could be their opening night roster, minus Patra, and the Flyers doing the same, the Bruins played a very good team game, keeping the Flyers to the outside, cleaning the front of the net, and clogging lanes, not allowing many shots. They won the game handedly, but it's preseason, so I can't wait for the first game of the season. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed, thank you. I'll see you next time.